let's talk Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 19, shall we?
Let us.
Chris Jericho was 2-2 going into this WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels making his first appearance since WrestleMania 14, where he lost the WWF Championship. Before we even go into the match, I watched this one. I watched a little bits and pieces here and there of some other stuff going on in WrestleMania 19. After Jericho and Shawn Michaels was Tony Schimmel announcing the WWE's favorite band in the whole world. And can you believe this? Looking back, it seems silly now with the whole PG era. Limp Bizkit was there to sing the WrestleMania theme song of a public traded company, Crack Addict. Crack Addict was being sung, and Tony Schimmel seemed so happy to announce the fact that they're having a song called Crack Addict.
Oh, if this
at WrestleMania 19.
It's a microcosm of everything wrong with the WrestleMania 19, the Seattle WrestleMania, for those of you who need a reference point.
Crack Addict.
This is an interesting time in Chris Jericho's career, because this is where he's basically a mechanic for guys like, I mean, because last WrestleMania, he lost to Triple H. He lost the undisputed title. And then now he's in wacky facial hair mode. And for the next 6 years or so, he doesn't even, sniff at the main event. He never really had that main event moment that other guys had. And that always seemed odd to me. He goes on like a 6-year losing streak here before he gets a win over over Edge for the World Heavyweight title.
I mean, he was in the main event, but people don't consider it the main event of Mania 18. He was the main event against Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, for that one, but he didn't have the winning moment in the main event.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. He wasn't the guy. He was
the guy.
Even when he was the undisputed champion, Stephanie was getting most of the heat because she was paired with him. So it was a Steph versus Triple H feud.
Yeah.
Wow, we've never seen that before.
Never seen that before.
This is a return of HBK after injuring his back a few years earlier. Smaller than we remember him.
Oh God, yeah, he was super tiny.
Yeah,
and he would basically stay that way. For the rest of his career, he would stay super tiny.
Yeah, you can tell that this WrestleMania is a time capsule of the time it was in, because I was watching the pre-thing about it, or just leading up to the match. Let's see, the Miller Lite Catfight Girls, concertos, violence against Stacy Keibler, which you can't have anymore, unnecessary blading. Oh yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful time.
We had Charles Robinson as the referee for this one.
I didn't recognize him until they told me it was Charles Robinson.
Because he had his hair was cut short. It was a look that you really had never seen for a long time with him as a referee. He didn't have the flowing, gold mane a la that earned him the Lil Nate symbol.
He was more brunette than
he was different. He was Chuck Robinson.
And then on this one, HBK has like a 10-minute entrance.
Well,
complete with the Johnny B. Bad shooter.
All those references or all those entrances were so long because he had Safeco Field. I mean, it was a long field, long entrance, and of course it was turned, so you don't have even the long straight shot. You would walk a while and then turn, so you'd have to walk even further. The ramp wouldn't have been as big if they just had a straight shot, but they couldn't do that with the configurations of the ring. You mentioned Shawn Michaels is looking smaller in this one. A long match, 22 minutes, but it could have been paced longer. Like they were pacing themselves for what could have easily been like a 40-minute match. Because even at the end of this one, it was worked somewhat slowly. I mean, it was a pretty slow going. Chris Jericho was working holds, and they worked a 10 count out spot during the middle of the match there with the Lion Tamer.
I just love that Lawler called that out too at the beginning of the match. It's like, why are they working headlocks and for a feud like this to start out with? And JR just scolds him. It's like, it's a wrestling match. You kind of want to start out with wrestling, don't you?
Start with wrestling. And I can see, Jerry's point is there, like they were feuding and whatnot, but the feud was based over who was the better showman and who was the better in-ring wrestler. Because Chris Jericho was calling out Shawn Michaels for like, I'm the new Shawn Michaels. I'm going to be the new Mr. WrestleMania and all this. So Chris Jericho wanted to show that he was the new WrestleMania. He was the new Mr. WrestleMania. So that's why you do it. That's why you have the wrestling holds. But I mean, it was a slower worked match. Really, the pace never picked up to the extreme that you would get on like a main event nowadays on a show with cruiserweights effectively, where you would get the quicker guys. It never worked up to that pace.
Yeah, I need to backtrack. I need to backtrack real quick because it's part of the story of this match. It dates back even to the Royal Rumble, where the whole story of this match is HBK is Chris Jericho's hero.
Right.
And Jericho wants to prove that he's HBK's equal. So at the Royal Rumble, by choice, Shawn Michaels had number 1. And in a triple threat match with Batista and I forget who the other, maybe Rey Mysterio, he won a triple threat being able to pick his own number, and he picked number 2. So he could go in there against Shawn Michaels and fight. And he lasted quite a long time in that Royal Rumble. And so every subsequent thing after that was, I want to match him, I want to match him, I want to match him move for move and be able to do that. So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of move stealing. There was a lot of mirroring the same moves that each other would do. I liked it. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of WWE Chris Jericho, sports entertainment Chris Jericho. I like him. It's good enough, but it's always more of a dance than the fight. And that's kind of what Jerry Lawler's point was. It's building up to certain moments for Chris Jericho in all these matches. But I loved the the numerous Chris Jericho kip-up spots. That was great.
Yeah, you had at one point Chris Jericho was doing the kip up and celebrating the fact, and then Shawn Michaels did his and took
right
it to
behind
him. Right behind him, took it to him, and then did another kip up. And Jim Ross is calling, and another one, and another one. He's just kipping up like crazy, doing all these things, doing the old Shawn Michaels, because more so than almost any other spot except for the super kick, you wanted to see Shawn Michaels do his nip up.
Yeah, and Jericho steals the super kick, and HBK at one point steals the walls. It's great.
Yeah. As far as a well-worked match, this is certainly one. Just to throw the star rating out there from Dave Meltzer, it was 4.25. But as far as a match goes, they had 22 minutes, and then you get to the eclipse of the match. You get to the ending of this one after.
Oh, this is what I love the most.
Yeah.
After the match. Go ahead.
If you were to think, I think most people going in thought Shawn Michaels was going to win. That was pretty clear that Shawn Michaels was going to be the winner, but in your mind, you would assume the finish is going to be super kick, pin, 1, 2, 3. Maybe after his 3rd or 4th attempt at the super kick, maybe even after hitting one and missing earlier, and this one finally getting the win. But it wasn't that. Shawn Michaels couldn't do his regular thing because Chris Jericho was almost his equal. Chris Jericho went for a back body drop. Yeah. Shawn Michaels dropped out of it, and with the O'Connor roll, rolls up Chris Jericho for the 1, 2, 3 and a surprise.
Yeah. And the other thing I liked that Jericho on a 9 count of a count out went into the ring and stopped Robinson from counting out Michaels because he wanted to beat him in the ring.
He wanted to beat him in the ring. Exactly. The whole story was Chris Jericho wanted to win clean at WrestleMania because just getting the W wasn't the factor for Chris Jericho. Getting the W wasn't the goal. He wanted to out-wrestle and shine in a pinfall scenario or a submission scenario with Shawn Michaels. A W through means that would put an asterisk on it would not have been good enough for Chris Jericho.
Yeah, the end of this match I loved though. After the match, Jericho just distraught, just crestfallen over not being able to beat this guy. And the crowd's cheering and they're hoping for the handshake, and he gives him a hug and he kicks him right in the fellas.
Yep.
That's how I want the Owens Cena match to win. Yeah, you're a man, give the handshake, and Owens just kicks him right in the nuts.
Because Chris Jericho didn't get to prove that he was Shawn Michaels' equal, so he didn't care anymore. I'm gonna kick you in the nuts anyway. I'm done with you.
And the crowd finally, because this crowd's quiet because it's an open air stadium.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get crowd noise, but you could hear the crowd noise after that one. That was really good heat, I thought.